Hi there, it's Hannah the Artisan Duck and I'm back today with this polymer clay tutorial. We are using Mokume-Gane to make this really fun, watery inspired background. So let's get crafting. I've gone ahead and conditioned my clay, and because I want that watery, transparent look, I'm going to use translucent clay and then a little bit of white. So this is my white. I'm going to move this to one side because I'm going to work on now tinting my translucent clay. I'm going to tint my clay with alcohol ink. So this is the Tim Holtz one, and this is Sailboat Blue. And I've also got this Adirondack one, which is also Tim Holtz, and this is in Stream. And this is just what I've got in my stash. I didn't want to go out and buy anything new, so have a rummage around, see what you've got. And then I thought for just something different, I'm going to try mixing in some Perfect Pearls. This is Interference Blue. I don't want to mix a lot in. I'm just playing at this point. I have not mixed Perfect Pearls into translucent clay before, and I just thought it might give a nice effect. So I'm going to sort of brush some of that on the top and mix that in as well. So I'm just going to start on one of the clay ones, and I'll show you what I do just to get started, and then I'll go off and mix all the colours thoroughly off camera. So I'm just going to open up my alcohol ink, and my alcohol ink's got like little dusty bits coming off it. It's just like dried ink, so I'm trying to avoid getting mess everywhere. And you don't need a lot, especially because this is actually quite a small piece of clay. So I'm just going to touch like that, and I'm going to leave it to dry. And once that's dry, I'll mix the colour together, sort of mix the clay and the colour together, and that will hopefully tint it a really nice pale blue. The colours on the alcohol ink, once you've put them in the oven, they can darken. So go on the side of caution with how much ink you add. So I shall just now put some of my Perfect Pearls on. I've actually got a brush. This is the brush that comes with the Perfect Pearls, or it used to when I bought them a long time ago. And I think I'm just going to sort of just brush on like that, just try and get a hint of that colour. I can go a little bit heavy handed with this because obviously it's going to mix in. I'm just going to mix this up and see if I'm happy with how it looks. So I'm just going to work on these colours, and we'll do the same obviously with my other alcohol ink, and I shall come back when that's done. There's all my colours mixed. So those are the two alcohol ink, and that's my white, and then this is the one with the pearlescent pearls in, and I'm not sure my camera's picking it up. There is a bit of a shimmer to it, so we'll see how that looks. So we're just going to stack them up now. And I've rolled them out on a number 3, so they're reasonably thin. I am going to start off by laying my alcohol ink blue straight down on my tile. I'm going to put the one with pearlescent pearls on top of that, and then we're going to go for another of my alcohol inks, and then I'm laying my white on top. And when I rolled these out, I was careful to make them roughly the same size. And I'm just going to get my roller and just go over this, make sure these are all sticking together. And it doesn't matter if we roll them out thinner because we do want them reasonably thin. There we go. Turn it around. Right, I might just go ahead and just cut off some of these uneven ends like that. There we go. And now I'm going to cut this in half so that I can stack one half on top of the other like that. There we go. Just scoop those up. They are really stuck to that tile, so I pressed quite hard when I rolled it out. And we're going to stack them one on top of the other. So we're just repeating the pattern like that. And there's not much distinction between them, but that's okay because we want it sort of like a watery, swirly type of pattern. So I'm just going to push those together, and then I'm going to come in again with my roller, and I'm really going to press hard and roll it so that the clay is all nicely stuck together. I've got a little air bubble. I'm just going to pop. Like that. Scoop up. You can see how much thinner that is. There, we've got like a little stack now like that. I'm going to position this straight down because we're going to go in now with the mark making that's going to help give that really cool textured pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my wavy blade. I'm going to use it upside down, so please be careful. Keep your fingers well out the way of the blade, but if we use a slightly dull edge rather than a sharp edge, it'll drag the clay down. And the idea is that when we push in, the layers of clay are going to get pushed down, so you're going to end up with these patterns. I'm hoping that makes sense. If you've done Mokume-Gane before, you'll understand what I mean. So I'm just going to use my blade. I'm keeping my hands well out the way of that sharp top, holding the sides, and I'm going to push down. And you know, you can cut through because we're going to squidge it back together. But I'm using this wave pattern because I want it, you know, thinking like a sea, the movement of water. So I'm just going to keep going down and pushing through like that. Like I say, please be careful of that blade if you're doing it like I am. These blades are very sharp. I'm being careful to hold it at the side rather than the top. I'm going to get one more out of it maybe. There we go. Right, so I'm going to go in. I'm just going to squeeze that together again. I don't want it all to fall apart. I'm going to scoop it up for a second so that I can sort of just squeeze it back in. Right, and now I'm going to go in, and I've got a ball tool. So this is got two ends, it's double-ended one, so it's a slightly smaller one and a slightly larger one, and I'm just going to go in. I'm going to, you know, use both sides, the smaller and the larger, and just press in. You could go for larger again if you felt you really wanted some big shapes in there. I really am trying to keep this as random as I can. Go in with a smaller. With the bigger one. So you can see now, if you push, that white is getting pushed down and all the other layers are getting moved around as well. And that will give that really cool texture when we cut it. Right. I think, you know, is there a case of doing too much pattern? I'm not sure. I always seem to do extra on everything. Right, so I'm going to just squeeze that again and try to fill in, just sort of compress it down, because I want to have a stack that I can cut. You can see there at the side the sort of where that clay's been moved around and pushed around. So I'm just going to squeeze it and compress it so that I can cut it, basically. This is kind of like cane work as well, although less structured, but you don't ever really know what you're going to end up with until you go in with your blade and start slicing off. That bit of fluff is annoying me. There we go. So a little stack. I'm just going to roll over it with my roller, just so I've got a flat surface to start cutting on. Like that, And now we're ready to start taking our slices. So I'm just going to go in with my flexible blade. I find that much more practical for taking slices. You get a much finer slice. Make sure it's stuck down, and my tile will move, so I tend to sort of lean forward. You can't see what I'm doing, so if my tile moves, it's actually pressing against me, because we're going to sort of drag this way. Obviously be careful cutting towards yourself, but I'm just going to go in, and you can sort of, you know, do bend that blade if you need to, but just take off as fine a layer as you can, and we'll start to see the pattern in our clay. Can you see that? So you've got some really cool sort of ripples and sort of the other colours creeping through. So I'm just going to keep on going and taking little slices as fine as I can. I really want to make the best use of that sort of translucent clay. I do find this quite tricky though, it tends to get thicker as I come towards me. There's another one. And I'm going to take another one there. I think what I'm going to do is just turn it around, because one end's thicker than the other one, and that's because I'm not cutting straight. So I'm going to try and just even this off a little bit, make sure it is stuck to your surface. Okay. And just keep on taking little slices, and you can see all the other colours creeping through. It really is quite a satisfying technique. Right, so I'm going to go away, I'm going to continue cutting this, and I shall come back when I've got all my slices and we're ready to move on. There we go, there's some of my slices. Some of them are also off to the side because I don't want to sort of layer them all on top, and you can see that for some of them the pattern is really strong, so those will probably be the ones I focus on using the most. So I've gone ahead and I've conditioned some white clay, and this is on number 3 on my machine, and now I'm going to take my slices of clay, and I'm just going to lay them on the white clay, like so, almost like you would if you had cane slices and you wanted to make like a veneer or whatever with that. So we're going to do it that way, and down. We're going to go in a minute and even these out, so if there are some that are a bit thin, some that are a bit fatter, it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to patch up as well anywhere that needs a little bit of extra help. This is not a technique to do if you're fussy over your patterning, because it's always going to be random. And can I get that one on the side anywhere? What I might do is just cut that edge off, just sort of pop it around here somewhere. There we go. So that's our sheet of clay, and now we just need to go in and roll it so it's all the same thickness, and we can then cut shapes out of it. So I've just got my trusty roller, and I'm just going to start, and then eventually when it's sort of roughly a uniform thickness, I'll take it through my pasta machine, but I won't do that until I'm quite sure that it's going to fit through without sort of distorting it too much. So they need to be a roughly similar height before you do that. Right, so that's roughly the same thickness all the way along. I'm going to take it through my pasta machine, and I'm going to put it sort of this way in, so if it stretches anything out, it'll be the sort of wave kind of pattern there. There we go, so that's rolled through my machine, and you can see it's just elongated it all out. So now I am ready to cut my shapes, and I'm going to cut the shapes and I'm going to go away and bake it and come back and show you what it looks like. But before I do that, I'm going to add some extra details to this clay, and I didn't want to make this bit the main part of the tutorial because I understand that this is not something that everyone's going to have, but I've got this tool called the pack pen, and you get little cutting shapes to go with it. So I shall just try and find one to show you. I have little sort of seaside-y type cutting shapes. So this is, I've got a couple of fish, I've got a shell, which is actually really nice. I like the shell very much. And I've got a turtle, and he is so cute. But I'm going to use the fish cutter, and I'm going to cut myself some little fish and decorate this with fish because it's a seaside-y type of theme. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll probably film how I do this section and sort of fast forward through it so you can just see me finishing the earrings off. But I will link to this tool down in the description. It is an affiliate link, so obviously that just means I get a tiny percentage of what you pay if you were to get it. I have bought this all myself. I signed up for the affiliates thing well after I bought it because it's a very new affiliate program, but there will also be a little discount code so you can get a 5% off if you are interested. But like, the main tutorial is this watery bit. This is just a fun extra. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to do my fish, I'm going to cut my shapes, and I shall come back and show you the finished jewellery. So here's some of the finished pieces, and I have given these 2 coats of varnish as well. You can see this lovely sort of translucent greeny blue, and it looks like a wave motion with that white sort of drifting into it like that. I've just kept these really simple. I've teamed them with some silver plated loops and studs, and I've done a very, very similar thing with some triangular pieces as well. Again, you can see they're obviously not identical, but very similar. And then I made those pieces with the little fish on as well. So I've just kept these really simple. And for these, I made sure to use my cutter sort of side by side, so I could get almost a continuation of that pattern running across those earrings. So there's those, and you can see where we pushed the ball tool in, you get these almost sort of bubble type look to it, which I think is really cool actually. I really like that. Then I got these with the fish, and this sort of wavy line here is where we used the sort of the crinkly blade to go down as well, and you can see it really does give that sense of movement and looks very much like the ocean. And then I've just done some more, so I've got little ones like that. So again, all relatively simple, and just using it to show off that lovely sort of watery technique in the background. There's just another one there. And then you might have seen from when I did make some pendants. Now the problem with these is I put them back in the oven so I could put bails onto them, and I really wish I hadn't. Putting them back in the oven on a slightly higher temperature for some liquid clay to glue those on changed the translucency. So it's kind of made it more translucent. Let me get that one in to show you sort of a contrast. It's changed that bluey green colour and it's changed the translucency, and I'm absolutely gutted. I'm not happy with how the result of those is now, and I won't be using them for anything. So I'll have to come back to this technique and do this again, I think, because I'm actually gutted about those. But, you know, word of warning, translucent clay doesn't necessarily like going in the oven for a second time. But as you can see, this is one of those techniques where you need to trust the process, because it really didn't look like anything when I was cutting them out and making them, and now you really do have that sense of like movement and water and sloshing around and bubbles, and yeah, so you do just have to go through the process, trust it'll work, and hopefully you'll come up with some really cool effects like these as well. So I will make sure I've put all the links below and given names for the things that I've used, the inks and whatnot. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial. It's a really fun one to do, and I've really enjoyed it. So I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.